Welcome, everybody. I'm Jabby KOAY, joined by SYNTELL.
Yo, what's cracking, baby?
And we got a breakdown in front of us from new Rockstars, The Last of Us, Episode 5, Easter eggs and details you missed. Thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate y'all being here. Please do me a big favor. Hit the subscribe button, bell icon, all notifications. Pretty please vote this up. Let YouTube know you're enjoying what you're watching. While subscribing and upvoting, two things. Please follow new Rockstars and follow SYNTELL. Links in the description below for you today. All right, let's jump into this. Here we go.
Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Eric Voss, and this is a breakdown of The Last of Us Episode 5, Endure and Survive. An episode that players of the game were dreading the most, preceded by the gnarliest bloodbath we've seen on this show yet. This series is so good, it's hard not to feel the same bleakness that our heroes feel, and I honestly don't feel like making any quippy joke right now. Forgive me, but what I can do is take you back through this episode, scene by scene, to point out the incredible attention to
Always
detail
a quippy
and
joke.
things that you might
Never
have missed.
fail a
And
quippy joke.
a week from
No matter
today
what.
will be the launch of our new channel, The Deep Dive.
No
with
exceptions.
A deeper investigatory focus on titles like Everything Everywhere All at Once. Please subscribe over at Deep Dive NR. So we
Deep
open
Dive,
in Kansas
huh?
City
Okay.
on the night Kathleen's revolutionary movement overthrew Fedra, and we are thrust into the horrific violence that insurrections tend to be. The opening shot is a single red flare fired into the night sky like celebratory fireworks, but a flare is really designed to be an SOS signal. A beacon, as in these revolutionaries are morally lost, their souls beyond saving. The flare in its smoke
Symbolism.
trail also reminds me of a fungal stalk, which my interview with a cordyceps expert said in some cases can shoot upward with the speed of a gun. The Palobolus fungus,
interesting.
considered one of the fastest organisms on Earth. So think about that in context of how fast the clickers and bloater in this regime later this episode. The crowd chants freedom and you, Fedra. And last breakdown, I compared Kathleen to America after 9/11, the Nazis making lists of names over their takeover of Europe, the Israelis getting revenge on Nazi doctors, and really what we're seeing here is January 6th if it wasn't stopped. Whenever throughout history and wherever throughout the world, revenge-fueled violence is humanity at its scariest.
Okay, he mentioned 9/11 real quick. Can you just do a quick expansion on what he's talking about there? Why would he mention 9/11?
Well, 9/11 people panicked, and they were looking for anybody that sounded Muslim, had a Muslim name, Muslim associated, and it was just like a witch hunt for the most part. So
Gotcha.
anybody that was of that culture, they caught hell.
Okay, so full transparency with the audience, when we did our review of the episode, Achara had actually mentioned 9/11 in referencing like news footage and stuff like that.
Okay.
And I just dropped that from the video because I'm like, I don't know if that's going to cause an issue of some kind. Our point was valid, but I was like, I don't want to like invite a conversation I'm not interested in the comments. I took the decision to cut it out.
Okay.
But
Okay.
here he is mentioning it, and I'm like, well, now I feel like an asshole.
One Fedra soldier has a bullet hole in his temple, executed the way the South Vietnamese police chief executed Viet Cong captain in 1968. The famous photo, the many say, changed public sentiment about who were the good guys and the bad guys in the war in Vietnam. Henry will tragically do this to himself, which grimly forces us to question justice and morality in this post-apocalypse. These insurrectionists are laughing as they slaughter Fedra soldiers, stripping them down, hanging them, dragging their impaled bodies through the streets.
Yeah.
They announce, as we see later with Kathleen, the trial is not at all fair, and it's interesting.
You know,
that
I
they
didn't even hear
code
that
the
fair
Federal
trial
Loyalists
bit.
as collaborators. Collaboration normally having a positive connotation for community building, but in this short-sighted movement's lexicon, a form of evil. Melanie Linsky plays Kathleen with an eerie suburban calmness, as opposed to the gruff energy female revolutionaries sometimes have in media.
I'm not Fedra. Lucky for you. No one here has to die. Yeah.
What a
we can
wasted
put you on
character.
trial. You're all guilty, so that's how that'll go. And you'll do some time, easy.
Yikes, the way she has already made up her mind. Actually, Melanie Linsky had an amazing Twitter thread explaining how Kathleen is not the coolest or the toughest person. She's the organizer, the planner, multitasker. And for better or worse, this group listens
pause
to the
that.
person with the best idea.
Yeah, I've been seeing people champion that a whole lot, and because nobody wants to call her what it is. She's a Karen, and people, for whatever reason, feel bad about that, and she's a horrible person. I'm sure this actress is an amazing actress. I've heard that she's done like some incredible things, and I'm looking forward to checking her out, the actress. But the character is trash. The character is a soccer mom, and you want us to believe that she has all of this power to move this amount of crazy people like this. Is just absolutely and completely unbelievable.
Okay. I mean, I'm not in disagreement with you. I have a hard time wrapping my head around it. I'm trying to find ways to forgive it because I like the show so much.
Yeah.
You know, I'm trying to find ways to justify it myself. I'm like, okay, I don't know. It's fine. Moving on.
Ideas of how to get shit done. Now, one prisoner gives up Dr. Edelstein, who is helping Henry hide.
Hold up. Where?
He didn't say. I swear, I've told you everything I know.
Of course you have. You're a rat.
A rat. Another nod to Hans Landa, who in the Inglourious Bastards opening scene likened himself to a hawk and Jewish people to rats, giving his take on the Nazi propaganda that did as much. Kathleen's Lieutenant Perry is played by Jeffrey Pierce, who voiced Joel's brother Tommy in the game. Perry doesn't want to devote all the men to hunting Henry.
Door to door take a lot of men, and there are other things that probably...
He's not my 7th priority, Perry. Is that what he is to you?
Kathleen is so blinded by revenge, and she has no real plan to maintain stability in KC, a blindness that will do all of them in this episode. Henry and Sam in the game are brothers Joel and Ellie meet in Pittsburgh. They're originally from Hartford, but here the show gives them more of a backstory in KC and a connection to Kathleen and her brother Michael. They meet Dr. Edelstein in the hideaway that Perry and Kathleen will find seen last episode.
Is he scared?
Yeah. Well, he saw a lot. Nothing I can do about that now.
He's scared because you're scared.
Good advice from this doctor. Kids often don't have context of the chaos of the world, and they look to their guardians for how to emotionally respond. If the parent panics, the kid will panic. And I love that in the panic of their escape, Henry knew to pack Sam's bag of crayons among the other essentials. That giving this kid something to focus on is as important as food and other supplies. This gives Sam the opportunity to cover the surfaces with art that reframes the outside world as a positive place. Kind of like the mother and son characters in the movie and book Room, where they transformed their prison into the boundaries of the entire world. And hey, by the way,
I never saw that.
wearing our Last of Us inspired shirt that you can get from our merch partners at nerdriot.shop. Getting these is one great way to help support this channel. Okay, 10 days later tells us that in the time span from Revolution Night to Joel and Ellie's arrival in Kansas City and that suburb outbreak is only a week and a half. That is how long Kathleen's regime lasted. Sam's drawings show Super Sam fighting Fedra soldiers. So Sam had the same enemy that Kathleen had. He doesn't fully understand that Henry sold out Kathleen's brother Michael to Fedra, and now that's why Kathleen is hunting them. And notice how by this time, Sam is now painting an orange border around Super Sam, showing how he recognizes he and Henry are boxed in. The next day, Henry says they're out of food, and Sam asks if they killed Dr. Edelstein. Henry says probably yes. Remembering Edelstein's advice, Henry keeps Sam feeling confident by painting an orange superhero mask on his face, which also gives Henry some confidence when he looks down at his brother.
So Eric Voss gave us a timeline that I wasn't clear about. So her regime lasted a week and a half. Now I'm a little bit more forgiving of everything because I didn't realize it was that short of a time period. I thought it was a little bit longer than that, like a month or a few months or something like that. They've been trying to track him down. I didn't realize it was that quick. I wasn't processing the duration of things on the fly. I was just kind of wrapped up in the drama, the minutia moment to moment. She assumed that role real quick, and she's not the way she is presented, she's not a leader, really.
That's how they're portraying her as a leader.
She failed in 10 days.
Yeah.
So
she was a good leader.
That's not a that's not a leader. That's chaos.
Yeah. I know. I mean, I agree with you. That's what I said. The character is trash. I don't. It's terrible.
I think that it might be a bit more justified is all I'm trying to get at because it lasted such a short time. Because I look at her, I'm like, I don't buy you as a leader. But then she didn't really lead because it only lasted less than 2 weeks, less than a fortnight. I look at her and I go, if you were leading shit, it would fail. And it totally did.
She led a rebellion enough to actually win and take over Fedra. So I'll give her that credit. But I just don't understand the motivation regarding that leadership. I guess this question I have. So let me re-say what I'm saying. I don't think she's a trash leader because she obviously got the job done. There was an objective and she got it done.
Yeah.
I just don't understand the likelihood and the reality based on the type of person that she is that could bring that type of revolution about. Based off of just her character.
As they leave, we realize this is the same moment Joel and Ellie are crashing through. And I love the point of view work across these 2 episodes. Last episode, from Ellie's point of view, we didn't see Joel shoot that second hunter, and now we do see that from Henry's point of view. And now when Joel looks over in his direction, Henry ducks. Last episode, you can see that same white door across the street with the 5 box windows that Henry was looking out of, but at that point we didn't know Henry was there. Henry gives Sam one of 2 unloaded guns that he and Edelstein pointed at each other. So if you think Edelstein left them with that gun, had Edelstein kept that gun, he might have been able to escape from the revolutionaries, or at least to pull them. But when Henry gives his brother the gun, it mirrors what Joel did with Ellie, and he tells Sam to hold it firm, but he doesn't tell him to use 2 hands. That's something that Sam does on his own, which makes Joel less likely to try anything. I love how Joel refuses to warm his tone.
That's right.
So we're
tone, man.
That's just the way he sounds. He has an asshole voice. Joel, tell him he's okay.
Everything is great.
Dude.
Yeah, if you think about it, Joel is intentionally staying cold for that line, everything's great, just to psych out Henry. The next morning, Henry gives Joel a view of the city.
Welcome to Killer City.
No, Fedra.
Not as of 10 days ago, no.
You always heard Casey Fedra was...
Monsters, savages. Yeah, you heard right. Raped and tortured and murdered people for 20 years. Hey, you know what happens when you do that to people? The moment they get a chance, they do it right back to you.
Yeah, Killer City is a nickname given to KC, popularized by rapper Fat Tone's track Killer City, which did come out after 2003, but probably would have been a nickname locals used before then. The fact that Joel had heard of the KC Fedra's reputation tells us how horrible of a life Kathleen and those revolutionaries must have lived under to get them to that point. Henry says,
Not if it's just me and Sam.
You seem capable enough, you're armed.
And wrong. Never killed anyone. And pointing an unloaded gun at you is the closest I've ever come to being violent.
yeah, Henry's making a major admission here that their guns were not loaded. So Joel isn't really pissed. He recognizes here that Henry can be trusted. Henry draws them a map and explains how to cross the highway by throwing to Sam, who writes tunnels on his Woody Woodpecker doodle pad. And I love this detail because one, it establishes this as how Sam communicates, and two, demonstrates the tunnel route as one a kid like Sam is not afraid of, so Joel and Ellie are more likely to see it as safe. Henry says that Fedra drove all the infected underground 15 years prior and claims that they cleared it out 3 years ago, and admits that in the meantime a few more might have gone down there.
Or one of those blind ones that sees like a bat.
You ran into a clicker,
2 of them.
and you're still alive.
Yeah, I think this is the first time the show has used the term clicker from the game, which also signals to gamers that they are going to be following the infected progression from the game, which includes the next stage, bloaters. That plus the fact that he said it was 15 years since the infected were bottled up underground tells us that that's plenty of time for one of them to bloat. As they navigate the tunnels, I love how Joel sounds like a gamer who has died playing The Last of Us several times.
See? It's empty. The plan is good.
The plan is good.
Yeah, this scene right here, when it happened in the show, I was like fully expecting clickers to show up, and I'm really surprised that they didn't encounter anything at all. Like, I'm of two minds about it, because on the one hand, I'm like, that was cool because they saved it all for that moment, that epic moment later on. But there's another part of me that's like, well, like surely a stray clicker or something. They should have encountered something, but it's all good. I mean, the show, it was a great episode nonetheless.
The plan is good.
The plan is good. We've been down here 2 seconds. We don't know anything.
That's kind of a pessimist.
I'm not
my
a dad.
Yes, both Ellie and Joel are on the same page that Joel, for now, sees Ellie as cargo still. They reach its entrance that's painted to look like a happy kingdom, which looks exactly like the entrance to the underground Pittsburgh area where Danny and Ish live. And inside, they find a kid's drawing of Danny and Ish, our protectors, just like the one you find in the game. So Ish was a fisherman who had been out to sea for several months during the outbreak and returned ashore near a Pittsburgh sewer entrance. And there, he established a community with another guy named Danny and Susan and Kyle and their kids and several others, but at some point a door was left open, and Ish and Susan and the kids escaped and made it out to the suburbs. After that, their fate is unknown. We see that hinted at by the rules here, and Joel hints at that.
I heard about places like this. People went underground after outbreak day, built settlements.
What happened to them?
Maybe they didn't follow the rules and they all got infected.
Actually, Ish's name was a nod to Isherman Ish Williams in George R. Stewart's 1949 post-apocalyptic novel Earth Abides, in which this guy Ish leads a similar community of pandemic survivors. Now here in Kansas City, Ish probably would not have been a fisherman who was out to sea, but now the uniforms make a bit more sense. Make me think that Ish and Danny might have been Fedra soldiers, in the show at least, who broke away from the more awful rest of Kansas City Fedra. Sam and Ellie find a Savage Starlight comic. This is an in-universe comic series in the game, following Dr. Daniela Starr, space adventurer in 2186. This episode's title, Endure and Survive, comes from the trophy that you get in the games if you collect all these comics, which is why Ellie is so stoked to talk about her collection.
No way! I love these! I have issues 4, 5, 6, 11.
Issue 11 you can find upon leaving Pittsburgh in the game after escaping the hunters and washing ashore on the beach. It's in the wrecked boat. But she says she has issue 5, and issue 5 in the game isn't found until way later in Tawny's Dam. This issue is Accretion. You see the title at the bottom there. That is issue 6, in which Daniela and Captain Ryan are thrown into an arena where the hostile extraterrestrials, the Travelers, make them fight to the death.
When you're playing Last of Us, do you go through like all of the text, all the comics, all those little things?
Reading it? No. No. What I normally do when I pick something up, I go immediately to the read button because I don't try to read the real actual piece of stuff. Yeah. And then I'll read like maybe the first couple sentences and I keep it moving.
I'm terrible. I'm like, if you're not talking at me, I'm not paying attention.
Skip.
If there isn't like a safe combination, I'm not messing with it. I just got to keep moving here.
I guess you could say there's a parallel in the way that Ellie and Sam are thrown into a death arena. As Ellie and Sam recite the Endure and Survive creed from the comics, behind them on the wall, the past kids drew stick figures of an older girl and a younger boy that parallel Ellie and Sam in this moment. Joel apologized for assuming Henry was untrustworthy.
All things considered, seems kind of cruel to send a whole army after you for that.
But Henry doesn't let Joel let him off the hook. He's still punishing himself for betraying Michael in order to get leukemia medication for Sam from Fedra.
There was a man, a great man. You know, he's never afraid, never selfish, and he's always forgiving. Have you ever met someone like that? Kind of man you'd follow anywhere.
Melanie Linsky said in an interview that Kathleen's brother was considered a Jesus figure, and so that metaphor would make Henry the Judas Iscariot, who was the apostle who turned in Jesus and in the New Testament committed suicide.
I am the bad guy because I did a bad guy thing.
Audience, just so you know, if you hear words that seem normal, like ducked out, it's because YouTube is crazy with it. Grape, okay, which they said in this breakdown, they referenced the line when they talk about Kill a City, right? Grape without the G, and then sure, right. I have to. YouTube's rules are so crazy. So like, I'm surprised. You know, Eric Voss said it because like I always get afraid of getting demonetized over just the mention of certain words. Anything that's triggering can get you demonetized. So I just want to let you know why. Like you might hear a dip or whatever.
But you were someone's.
We learned last episode that Joel has been both a black hat and a white hat, that he previously faked being injured to lure people into a trap, but it's worth noting that Joel did not do these bad things to protect Sarah. Sarah was gone at that point. He didn't even have protecting a kid as an excuse. Perry finds Kathleen in Michael's childhood room where a soccer photo is still on the wall, and she says,
When Michael and I were little, this room seemed so big. I was really scared of thunder. So when there was a storm, Michael told me that this wasn't a room at all. That this was actually just a big wooden box. A big wooden box that nothing could get inside of. He said, as long as we were together in our perfect box, we would be safe.
Pretty sad for Kathleen to feel this way, even after seeing Sam and Henry's hideout last episode and realized that Henry had been doing the same exact thing for Sam to protect him. But that is the point. Michael's death proved to Kathleen that his forgiveness, his turn the other cheek mindset, did not help him survive this backwards world. So here, by agreeing that they're doing the right thing, both she and Perry are sealing their moral fates. The others make it to the suburbs across the highway, but a sniper starts firing on them. Henry tries to run away with Sam.
Let's go. What are you doing? Get the f*** out of here. Oh, shit.
Yeah, notice how Henry reacts to the gunshot. Sam doesn't. He just reacts to Henry. Tells us how confusing this all must be for this deaf kid. Joel sneaks up behind the shooter and bangs him up to make him kill him.
Please don't do it. Please.
Yeah, interesting again how we cut away from Joel killing someone. The second hunter that Joel shot last episode, that guy Brian who he stabbed, were both off screen. Those were only experienced from Ellie's point of view, just like this killing is here. Only Joel's pummeling of that Fedra soldier in episode 1 do we see because Ellie sees it. Joel's violence is only depicted when it has a role in activating Ellie's violence. Joel screams, "Run!" which at first the kids don't hear because it's too far away until it's too late and the plow is barreling through the cars. It too has "Run" spray painted on it. The tension is so nerve-wracking, especially when the rifle jams. And immediately after it jams, we cut back to the word "run" on the plow as if it is Joel's mental scream to Ellie. But that jam provides a pause for Joel to collect his breath and re-aim, so the next shot he fires takes out the plow driver. Henry asks Kathleen to at least let the kids go.
Yo, so this scene was so much better in the show than in the game. I looked at some of the video footage of the game just the other day because I just wanted to like compare it out of curiosity. They set it at night. In the game, it's during the day. And the way that truck is just plowing through shit is way more aggressive than it is in the game. Like this is one of those few instances where I feel like the show really built on the game in a very, very positive way. There's a lot of things where you go, oh, it's better in the game. Oh, it's better in the game. Oh, it's better in the game. Not like by a huge margin, but it's still better in the game. This is one of those instances where I felt like the show definitely bested the game. Okay. It's like that, yes, all of that. It was intense. They ratcheted up the urgency of everything. In the game, it's like it's way less populated with things. In terms of like people, creatures, NPCs, and all that stuff, it's way less populated. Right. But it's nerve-wracking from the sense of you're Joel and you're trying to take these things out, before damage happens to the characters that you care about. There's already intensity built into that, just in not screwing up like what you're shooting at, right? But in the show, you need it to be way more active, which they did, and they did a fantastic job. I just wanted to like commend them again. It was great.
Kathleen to at least let the kids go, but Kathleen refuses to accept Henry's argument that doing anything to save a kid is worth it.
But did you ever stop to think that maybe he was supposed to die? Well, kids die, Henry. They die all the time. You think the whole world revolves around him? That he's worth everything?
During this morally bankrupt line, which Melanie Linsky delivers perfectly without an ounce of remorse, we cut to Joel, who is doing the same thing for Ellie. Their entire relationship with Henry and Sam is designed to force Joel to think about his relationship with Ellie. Kathleen believes she is the one delivering Henry's rightful fate.
It ends the way it ends.
But Kathleen fails to see her own rightful fate. Warned to her last episode with that pulsing hellmouth back in the city, that Fedra didn't really clear all the infected, they just moved them. The burning plow truck has damaged the basement of this house, and that heavy-ass truck caves a hole into the sewers below, and...
This whole thing, I love this so much, the way it was handled. Between the truck going in slowly
and those infected geyser up out of the hole all at once. From Joel's high angle, you can see one of them running in his direction, still on fire. Much like the experience you would have playing some parts of the game, Joel is stuck on one perch, having to shoot infected to keep Ellie safe in another area. The editing makes it seem like he and Ellie are starting to share a hive mind, like all the pieces of the fungus do. He sees Ellie looking at an open vehicle window, and his eyes dart over to it. He's just somehow able to know where she needs to go and clears a path for her. And then we see it. The bloater rises up from the pit. So bloaters are the stage of infected after clickers, in which the fungus continues to build on the body over 10 years, forming a kind of armor resistant to gunfire. And I love that the show designers kept his sagging belly, like bloaters have in the game, though bloaters in the game aren't this tall. They don't seem strong enough to lift people in the air like this, but they can totally rip your jaw apart and smash your skull. Perry gets his attention, and as Kathleen flees, we see it ripping Perry's head off. It is wild. And I do love that, as is sometimes the case in the game, the bloater is not taken down. The last time we see that swarming street, the bloater is still walking around. Joel is so shaken by seeing this bloater that he loses.
What the hell was Perry thinking?
I have no idea. And it seems so out of character for him. Well, at least for the way he appears to look. He looks like somebody that knows how to handle that weapon that's on his arm, right? And then when we finally see him in action, he does the dumbest thing. I'm going to sit here and stand my ground against this weird, horrible abomination. Nah, bro.
The dumbest thing possible. Like, you go, Kathleen. I got this. You got what? You just saw what it did. What do you have that's going to stand up to that? Not a goddamn... You've never even seen this before. What are you thinking?
He banked on the power of friendship.
I mean, it was a dope moment, but like I just wish that it had caught him off guard rather than him just going to his death like that deliberately. I understand why it had to happen. I just wish that was more finessed. That's all.
Joel is so shaken by seeing this bloater that he loses sight of the one clicker small enough to fit in that vehicle window, a young girl. This clicker is actually played by young actress Sky Bell Cowton, who is an accomplished gymnast. Ellie is able to evade her, but when Kathleen catches them, it is that same girl clicker who gets her. Bit of irony considering Kathleen previously considered kids' lives unimportant. In the motel afterwards, while Ellie reads the comic to him, Sam looks uninterested because he knows he has been infected at this point. He writes, "If you turn into a monster, is it still you inside?" A similar fear that Ellie had when she previously asked Joel about this, and then was able to investigate when she sliced open that infected in the convenience store basement. But on a deeper level, this is also a thematic question. If you start to act monstrously, are you the same human you once were? Does our monstrosity come from some natural external evil separate from us? Or do we innately invite the monstrosity to take us over by some force of destiny, maybe natural selection, as a result of our natural affinity for monstrosity that was always inside us so that we reconnect with nature? This is the sort of question posed by Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, Richard Matheson's I Am Legend, even with Robert Kirkman's decision to title it The Walking Dead. The Walking Dead referring to the human survivors of that story. Ultimately, it's human vanity to consider our souls exceptional above nature, and these monsters are nature's way of rebalancing the status quo. We are the monsters. We are legend, and that was always us inside. It just, really sucks to see this happen to a kid. Ellie cuts her hand, hoping her blood will cure him, but it does not work that way. And Ellie awakens to see Sam sitting facing the sun, maybe reacting to the sunlight, same way the infected in episode 2 turned in the sun. Henry grabs a gun. At first seems like he's gonna shoot Joel, but then instinctively shoots Sam. And then, flooded with despair, that Kathleen might have been right, that maybe it wasn't all worth it, he makes a decision to end it. This is mostly how it goes down in the game. And I think it might have been just too much to change Henry and Sam's fate, because the truth is, yeah, this is a bleak world. And Joel, for his future path, needs to be conflicted with the possibility that putting everything on the line for a kid might not be worth it. Looking back, giving Bill and Frank a happy ending in episode 3 was desperately needed for this HBO series, because otherwise it would have been one bleak side after another. Ellie leaves Sam's note.
I think that moment where Ellie puts her blood or her cut hand on the deaf boy, I forgot his name all of a sudden. Sam. I think that moment was important, not just as an emotional thing. For me, it's twofold. Number one, it shows Ellie's like her innocence and her attempt to do something that it's like there's the optimism and hope that she has as a young individual. It gets kind of beaten out of us over time, as we become an adult. We lose that innocence, right? And she still she still has that, even though she's gone through some shit. And I thought that was kind of a sweet moment that was not in the game, as I recall. But also, it ties into the end of season 1. That's all I can say without giving anything away for anyone who does not want any spoilers at all for what's ahead. But I think that's a direct tie into that to better explain what's ahead. You get what I'm getting at?
Maybe a little bit.
Well, you know what happens in the final chapter. So like that, I think that's why we needed that moment to see like that doesn't work.
Had on its grave with "I'm sorry" written on it. And I think what's even sadder for me, the way she wrapped the string around the top and tucks it in so that no one else will ever be able to write anything else. Joel was wrong that it's easier for kids because no one is depending on them, because kids can sometimes feel that responsibility too, as Ellie did as a big sister to Sam. By trying to give her blood to Sam, she really thought that she might cure him. And by asking which way is west, she's not burying her grief. She is furious with herself and desperate to find a doctor who could turn her blood into a cure to prevent this shit from happening ever again. And Joel and Henry were also wrong that endure and survive was redundant and didn't make sense. It does make sense. The two words are different things. To survive is to just stave off death, but to endure is to emotionally harden oneself and to tolerate the pain of survival. And as these two characters walk this path, they must both endure and survive.
Yo, I was like, is he getting emotional?
Yeah.
And
he was having a moment.
Yeah. I was like, wow, that's interesting. I've never seen Eric Voss have a moment like that.
The emotional level for me with this episode was, to me, disappointing as compared to the game.
Okay.
It was. First, let me start by saying I thought this was an exceptional episode.
Okay.
Maybe top two of the episodes. It was very, very, very good.
Okay.
Let me start by saying that.
Yeah.
But the relationship with Henry and Sam was a bit of a disappointment, because me and people that are within my own social media echo chamber, and let me be clear, it is an echo chamber, we were very excited regarding this story based off of what we saw with Frank and
Frank and Bill.
Frank and Bill. We were like, we saw the brilliance that they did with Frank and Bill, and we were like, oh my God, if they can do that with Frank and Bill, a character, especially Frank, who doesn't even have any lines, he has no lines whatsoever, all he leaves is a letter, and they devoted an entire episode to just this type of relationship. My echo chamber was like, yo, if they could do that with this episode, when they have Henry and Sam, is going to be phenomenal, because they were pivotal. Both of them were pivotal characters within the journey of The Last of Us. Mm-hmm. And it didn't get that same kind of love and treatment as we saw in episode 3. So they did a good job. But you can even go back on my Twitter. You can go on SYNTELL's Twitter and look on the posts. And I said, I'm already preparing my Kleenex boxes. I'm ready to have like a boohoo cry after this. We were ready. And then we saw the episode, and I saw the episode, and that didn't happen. I was ready to let it go. And it didn't really stick it like that. It was good. I thought the performances of Sam was amazing. That little boy, he needs more work. I thought his older brother Henry did a decent job, but that emotional let go, it wasn't the same as it was in the game. Like, I literally in the game had to pause the game.
Why do you think it was not the same?
Screen time was taken away that could have maybe added more to the development of those two characters. I'll go back to the episode 3, which is brilliant. Absolutely just masterpiece of an episode. They spent really considerable amounts of time with just those two. Now, keep in mind, these are two characters that have no real big screen time within the game, but we were rewarded with this great story that was told. And I thought, and to some people within my echo chamber in my circle, thought that we were going to get that same kind of treatment with these two brothers. Instead, we had to share screen time with Kathleen, with a character that I didn't think was really that important, or it didn't really stick the landing with her arc. There was a whole bunch of other people that kind of diluted from that. Yeah. From what we thought we were going to get. Yeah. You know, it was just, I personally put the bar way too high. And I think it was smart in hindsight for the creators of the show to only give us one episode where they can just really kind of make it a one-off. If you would have done two, that probably would have been too much. But it didn't mean that I wasn't hoping for that. You know what I mean?
For me, the episode did just enough. It would have been cool to get some of the backstory before the events of what transpired in that city. Of like the relationship with these two, you know, with the brothers. We're coming in when things are already falling apart. With Bill, we came in when the disruption to everything normal first happened 20 years ago, when they were clearing out cities. That's when we came in there. And so we got 2 decades with those characters. Whereas we're getting 10 days with these characters. And I'm just like, one of the things I kind of wished was that funny enough, was that the stuff with the brothers before Joel and Ellie come into the picture for them, I was kind of hoping that was going to be truncated a little bit more. In the end, I was fine with it because like I still got emotional and I still felt what I needed to feel with the episode. But I would have rather, in place of what we got, had more of their upbringing or something of like why we should be attached to these two characters. Because what we got from the first several minutes of the show before Joel and Ellie show up, I was like, I already feel the attachment to these characters off of Legacy. And so I didn't connect as much with those scenes. So I would have rather had the development. How did we get here? Who are these? Why? You know, and how long have they been like on their own? All that would have been cool to see. Like, how do they let go of their mom or whatever? You know, like those scenes we could have easily gotten in lieu of what we got. Like, showing how we got the pictures on the wall and, you know, what the relationship with the doctor and all that. That was cool. It just didn't do much for me emotionally. You know what I mean?
I agree completely, 100% with you. I think the problem is that what you said, like, I'm living off of old context. Yeah. And an old experience and how it moved me back then. This isn't that. Yeah. You know, but I think what you're saying is true. Had they gone back, maybe when it first jumped off, maybe to when they lost their parents, maybe to when, you know, why they were able to get in this group with this Jesus-led figure before he turned into Judas. You know, instead, all we got some pictures. We got these kids kind of creeping around. We know that he's a snitch and he's trying to get an easy way out, and then his brother dies. To me, it happened that was just way too fast. Yeah. You know, I was emotionally ready to feel some more. Yeah. You know, but it was like this kid's dead, and it's like, damn, that's it. And you know, why can't we have a scene with them rolling in the strawberry patches and be like, you know, I gave away the little gun, you know, like it was, you know, there was so many of those cute contextual moments in episode 3. It was written with a lot of heart and feel and stuff. And this one just seemed to not have as much attention to the emotional detail.
What do you want, SYNTELL? You got black people in the show. Isn't that enough?
Man,
isn't that enough?
It's unrealistic. It's unrealistic to me, my expectation with that. And no, it's not enough just to have black people in the show. I want, you know, to like breathe, flesh, you know, do what they did in episode 3.
Why can't you people be happy? Why can't you people be satisfied?
I'll smack the... It wasn't a bad depiction.
No, I know. I agree with you. I would have liked to have gotten more of the sweet, sentimental backstory so you could feel more of the tragedy at the end. So in summation, really liked the episode. Would have wanted a few things different. Not hot on Kathleen still. Glad she's dead. So.
Yeah, everything you said, I'm thumbs upping all of that.
All right, y'all. Thanks so much for hanging. Hopefully you enjoyed this. I'm Jabby KOAY. This is...
Hey, it's your boy SYNTELL.
Peace out.